In this video, I will give an overview of the Desktop Authority Manager console, introducing you to its menus, tabs, and sections. After Desktop Authority is installed, you can launch the Desktop Authority Manager console one of the following ways: by clicking the desktop shortcut, by selecting the link located under Quest in the Start menu, or by entering the address directly into a web browser. The username and password credentials used to log into the manager are the user's Active Directory credentials. Check the Use Windows Authentication box to log in using the current Windows session login credentials. These are the credentials entered at the Windows logon prompt. Now we are logged into the Desktop Authority Manager console. Here there are a few sections to take note of. In the upper right corner are Information and Settings. Under that is the menu bar. Most of the menu bar items will have submenu hyperlinks. Finally, at the bottom of the window is the status bar. Going back to the upper right-hand corner, the first option available is the Logged In As informational text. This displays the username of the user who is currently logged into the console. Clicking this drop-down gives the option to log out. Next is the Preferences dialog. This presents several options that are used to configure the Manager console. The General tab has options to change various user preferences like language, date time format, and time zone. The Confirmations tab allows you to show a confirmation dialog when the following operations are attempted. Select the box next to each listed item if you want to see a confirmation dialog box when the selected task or operation occurs. You will be given the option to continue with the operation or cancel it at that time. The next symbol is the Information dialog. This houses items like About, License Agreement Information, where you can view the current license status, import a license, or access licensing assistance information if you're missing your license file, legal notices, and contact information if you need to reach out to technical support or a sales representative. The last icon is a drop-down that provides various helpful links. It includes links to items like guides, the knowledge base, and community support forums. When launching Desktop Authority, you are greeted with the Getting Started view. This view offers helpful links that should be visited after an installation or upgrade. Our first item on the menu bar is Client Configuration, and by clicking on the submenu hyperlink Profiles, it will open its view. Within this view, there are two tabs: User and Computer. The User tab is used when settings are to be applied to the current user's working environment during log-on, log-off, or at refresh intervals. Use the Computer tab to have settings applied to a computer during the startup or shutdown process, refresh intervals, or based on a defined schedule. Computer profiles are useful when configuring settings that are independent of user interactions. Both the User and Computer tabs house profiles. The manager displays profiles in a navigation tree. Profiles enable greater manageability and control over client configurations. Profiles are used to break down a large number of configurations into smaller groups. As an example, schools may have one profile for students and one for teachers. You could create a profile for each of your Active Directory sites, OUs, or groups. Any logical way to break down these settings into manageable chunks. Try to avoid having one large profile for all your settings. However, it is also important to avoid having too many profiles, as this can become just as difficult to manage. Each profile has within it a collection of objects. Objects are the individual types of settings that can be configured within a profile. Here you will find objects like drive and printer mappings, Microsoft Outlook, and registry settings, among many others. After selecting an object, the right-hand side of the screen will display the elements. Elements are the actual configuration settings within each profile object. In this example, under the profile UBM Profile 3, I have drive mappings highlighted, and the list of my configured elements is now displayed. Here I have 3 drive mapping elements configured. The next menu sub-item under Client Configuration is Global Options. Many of the submenus will appear grayed out and cannot be edited until you click the Edit button. Under Global Options, there are three tabs. The first tab is Common Management Options. Here you can choose which machine class that will be excluded from running Desktop Authority. You can also specify an alternate logon script, as well as prevent running log-off or shutdown actions. On the Computer Management tab, there are two subtabs, Definitions and Troubleshooting. Computer-based definitions are variables that can be defined for use in computer management profiles. These variables are used for advanced configuration and troubleshooting purposes. The Troubleshooting tab is used to define several settings that can aid with tracing problems on client machines. The most common setting on this object is the ability to create a detailed trace file. The last tab under Global Options is User Management Options. Here, the Definition and Troubleshooting tabs are similar to their sister tabs under the Computer Management Options, except these tabs specifically apply to the user management profiles. The Visual tab is used to set the default graphical startup mode of Desktop Authority as it executes on the client during the logon and logoff process. One of the three display types can be selected. The Desktop Agent tab offers options for changing how the agent acts on machines. Here is the User Management Options Troubleshooting tab. The next menu item is Deployment Settings. Its first submenu is Server Manager, which has four tabs. The first tab is Service Management. The Service Management grid details the status of each server utilized by Desktop Authority, including the status of the administrative services, update services, and the replication status of the configuration files. Using this grid, the status of the services and replication can be monitored for all servers at a quick glance. The Plugins tab shows the status of the plugins, used to perform specific operations such as data collection and the execution of scheduled reports. Replication Options provides several options and preferences for the replication process. Here you can change things like replication source and target locations. Keep in mind that these settings, like many others, will be configured automatically upon installation, and only will need to be edited in specific situations like server migrations or standalone installations. Configure Sitemap has options available to change the way Desktop Authority's client finds its services required for operation. It has two tabs, Desktop Authority Administrative Service and Update Service. By default, Desktop Authority's client will attempt to connect to the administrative or update services located on the user's logon server. If the requested service does not respond or is not installed on that server, Desktop Authority will use a sitemap to locate a server that has an active and responsive service. The default option for these tabs is Automatic, where the sitemap is automatically created based upon the information in the Server Manager grid, and groups all servers to their respective site. The next submenu is Client Deployment. It has three tabs. The first tab is Assign Script. It provides the ability to assign a logon script to domain user accounts in order for the user to qualify for user management settings. The GPO Deployment tab can be used to push out the Desktop Authority Client Installation MSI to each computer in the targeted domain or in individual OUs. The Client Provisioning tab has settings for how the necessary client files will be deployed to machines that will be managed by Desktop Authority. Software distribution is used to manage a repository of Microsoft Windows installer packages, MSI, MST, and MSP files that can be used when configuring MSI package elements. System Configuration's first tab, Domain Controller, tells Desktop Authority to use a specific domain controller in order to enumerate group and user information. With Import Custom Options, you can import a custom INI file that will add new values to drop lists for various objects. Off-network configuration is used to configure off-network support, which allows a computer that has previously installed Desktop Authority's client to use the Desktop Authority configurations when an internet connection is available but the company network is unreachable. RM Gateway configuration is used to configure the off-network remote management services. which allow Desktop Authority to remotely control online computers that are currently disconnected from the corporate network. Under the Remote Management menu, the Remote Management console offers a simple way to organize and remotely access computers running the Remote Management client. Some components of the Remote Management Client module require support of Java applets by the connecting browser. If the browser you are currently using does not natively support Java applets, like Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, the ExpertAssist Java launcher must be downloaded and installed. The next menu item is Reporting. Its first submenu item is Reporting Tool. This tool can be downloaded and run locally outside of the web browser, so reports can be ran when needed without having to open the Desktop Authority console. This is helpful when other users need access to reporting, but not to the Manager console. Reporting Web Access allows access to reports directly in the Manager console. The final menu item is Console Access Settings. Console Access Settings implement the Desktop Authority's role-based administration functionality, which restricts access to profiles and the configuration elements contained within them. Console Access Settings is comprised of maintaining system roles, super users, and profile roles. Under System Roles, you can add, remove, and edit system roles. A system role is a container that defines permissions to specific parts of the Desktop Authority console. Most often, roles are established to represent a common job function that is performed by one or more users. Common roles are site administrators or help desk technicians. Under Super User Management, you can add or remove super users. A super user is an attribute of a user or group that provides specialized system access. The superuser attribute is designed for privileged users who will have unrestricted access to the console, regardless of the roles the user belongs to. They will be able to view and update all objects in the console. Global Profile Roles is where you can add, remove, and edit global roles. A global profile role is a container that defines the permissions that are granted to any member of that role. On the status bar at the bottom of the screen, you will have the Replicate Changed Files button, often referred to just as the Replicate button. Desktop Authority uses Replication to provide a method of publishing Desktop Authority configurations to domain controllers. Desktop Authority does this with its own replication process. Whenever a change is made in the console, replication will need to take place for those changes to take effect throughout your environment. Click the Replicate Changed Files button to replicate only the files that have a different date timestamp than those in the destination. To the right of the Replicate Changed Files button is a drop-down arrow. Clicking on this will add two additional options: Replicate All Files and Force an Update of the local Desktop Authority folder on clients. Select Replicate All Files to replicate all files regardless of date and time. Select Force an Update of the local Desktop Authority folder on clients to have the various client files that were distributed to each client workstation refreshed. The Replicate button contains a colored icon which indicates the status of the manager's current configurations. This tells you if the most recent configuration changes have been replicated. A yellow status indicates the configurations have been saved but have not yet been replicated. A green status indicates all changes made within the manager have been successfully saved and replicated. The Loaded In status shows how long it took to load the current view. The current version of Desktop Authority is displayed here. Customer Feedback opens the online product feedback page. This page allows you to send feedback about your product experience. Registration provides quick access to the licenses page. And finally, Getting Started will take you back to the Getting Started page that was shown when first opening the console. And with that, this will conclude our introduction into Desktop Authority's Manager console. To learn more about Case Desktop Authority, visit support.quest.com/case-desktop-authority.